Hey y'all, this is AL Think Madame, and I know y'all like, girl, what in the world? What in the world? Okay, so I had to come back on here real quick and tell y'all what just popped off. So I'm minding my business, and I'm like scrolling on the internet, and since I can't sleep right now because they upstairs doing the most, and I was just like, okay, whatever. Y'all excuse me. I fidget. I fidget a lot when I'm nervous, even if I'm not nervous. Like I'm not nervous, but I am. So this is just something that's happening. That's why y'all see me picking my face and doing all of this and all of that. My head ain't itching. It just is what it is. So I'm sorry. So anyway, I figured I'd explain that because I feel like I don't explain it enough or I've never explained it. So whenever y'all see me like twiddling my thumbs or doing anything random while I'm talking, that's why. So I think it's kind of like a soothing mechanism and kind of helps me to get myself together, even though I'm in this room by myself. But I know this video will be seen by at least one other person. So it's like kind of helping with stage fright. Anyway, let me tell y'all what just went down. Minding my business, scrolling on the internet. And then, like, I'm watching, I forgot what video I'm watching, y'all. It's still up there in the background. I'm watching a video, and then the next thing I know, my phone started ringing, and I'm like, who is this? I look at the number, and I'm like, it's some kind of Virginia number. Should I answer it or not? Because I really don't like answering unknown calls. But I was like, something telling me to pick it up right now. Let me pick this phone call up. Pick up the phone. It's HR from my job. Now, not the guy that I always go to. Oh, it's somebody who above him, some woman and another woman. It was two people on the phone at the same time. So they introduced themselves and they were like, "Hey, we HR, we are investigating something that has happened." And she wanted to see if I was willing to, have a few moments to spare or whatever to discuss it. And I was like, sure. So, I'm waiting to see what she gonna ask because she was like, I have a few questions to ask. And I'm like, depending on what she say, I might have the answer. I might know what she talking about. I might be able to, get the people what they want, I guess. So I'm like, okay, let me see. So of course they had to, make sure that I was aware of the people who were in question, asked me, did I know about the incident in question? Then here came the real questions. So they wanted to know, did I witness it? And I said, no, I was working in a new department that day. So they were like, oh, you were over there. So it kind of like was like, dang, we didn't get another person who saw it. And I'm like, yeah. So they wanted to know then, like, how did I find out about it? And I was like, well, after the incident happened, somebody in particular came to me and shared with me that this happened. And like I told y'all before, the only reason why she witnessed it was because the area that she was running was not operational and she likes to move around. Like she likes to move around and be busy. So naturally, like every time that in the past that it wasn't operational, she would come back upstairs and find her something to do. There were no special projects that she could like work on until it was operational again. So she did what she naturally does and went back upstairs, but walked into some foolishness and didn't know it was that deep. So yeah. So I told her, yeah, I wasn't there. I was in that other department. So once she found out that she told me, I said her first name and she, ended up saying her entire name. And I was like, yes. At that moment, I don't know why my mind went blank as to what her last name was, but I know everybody who's been around for a while that I worked with and work with. I know their first and last names. So I was like, yes, once they, said her entire name. And so they were like, so have you had any interactions since the incident or after the incident happened with that person? But before they got to that question, they wanted to know, like, if I knew of anything else that had happened. And I was like, well, it's funny that y'all reached out to me because when it first started, he came to me. And it started when he initially came to me and he asked me what was his name. And so it became a running theme for the last 3 months or so that he would come to me, whether through it was a text message or it was a a moment where he would see me in passing and he'd be like, hey, yo, what's old boy's name that used to work over there, but he work up there with y'all now. Every single week without fail. Every single week for like the last 3 months. That was the conversation they have in reference to that man. And I would tell him every single week what his name was. And I'm just like, how do you not remember his name by now? Like, but he would always say, he cute. He would say, this man is hella cute every single week to me. And then go up to him and say it again. So I've witnessed him say it to his face before, and you could look at his face and tell that he was annoyed, or he will walk off annoyed. So it wasn't like bro, that's a good joke, or not. Like, nobody is taking it as a joke. It's kind of like, why you keep saying, like, at this point, it's like, why you keep saying it? And like I told y'all before, though, first day that he initiated all of this, he said it to me first. Then less than an hour later, went up to the man in his face and called him hella cute. And then came back later on with a piece of paper that you only can get if you work in the department that he works in, doing what he does, and wrote on it the words, "You are hella cute," and handed it to him. And I witnessed each interaction he had with him when he would say this. I was standing right next to him, talking to him, having a whole conversation. So I'm clearly hearing what's happening. The department that I was helping them set up, because I was the breaker at the time, coincidentally, I was helping them set up stuff. We were already done. So we were talking the whole time we were setting up. Then we were finished setting up. I was sitting right next to him. We would be talking and he would come out of nowhere, supposed to be downstairs retrieving things for us and everybody else, resources. And he coming up there talking about, you hella cute. So yeah, that was something that they, were like, wow. Because I was like, it's a coincidence that y'all are actually reaching out to me. Because they straight up said out of their mouths, my name was brought up. And I was like, oh, so since he told me that he wasn't bringing nobody's name into it, I'm pretty sure that the other person brought my name up, thinking that I'm a vouch for him. I'm not vouching for you. I'm not vouching for you. Even though I've had my issues with old boy, which ain't have nothing to do with real life, like not really. Like, I just would look at him and be like, oh, I don't think he do no work. I don't feel like he gonna do no work when he come up here. So I'm not gonna have no dealings with him. And so, like, that's what my fake beef with him was. It was never anything real. Outside of that, I ain't had no issues with him. Like, I got to know him. He got up there and he liked how I worked and, the way I was working or whatever. And he was like, I'm trying to be like you and you move fast. And I'm like, where are y'all getting this from? I am slow. But anyway, so then, like I said, they wanted to know, they heard that he had been reaching out to people and they wanted to know if I was one of the people he had been reaching out to. And I was like, yes, he has reached out to me since everything has happened. And so I was like, well, let me, pull up, the text messages that I have. But the day that everything happened, he actually called my phone and I told him the exact same thing that I told y'all before, which was that I just so happened to be talking to the person who told me that this incident happened, and my phone was ringing and I showed it to her and I was like, oh my gosh, look who's calling me. I was like, look who's calling me. And she was like, oh my gosh, eyes got buck. And so when I answered the phone, he was like, are you at work? And all this other stuff. I'm trying to figure out what in the world going on because nobody's at work anymore. Like, everybody gone. So I'm like, wait a minute. And I didn't witness nothing. So I don't know what's going on. He over here talking about, well, I didn't talk to HR, and HR said the only way the situation can be rectified is if I talk to him. And he tells them that it's a joke, like I told them that he knows that it was a joke. I was just playing. I need my job, and all this other stuff, right? Yeah, he just texted me talking about some, oh, wow. I'm going to tell y'all about that in a minute. So, yeah. So, I'm just like, he over here basically trying to bribe him so that he can get his job back. And I'm just like, well, he's not going to go for it. He's not going to go for what you're trying to pull. It's not going to work because I told them that I know that he had something happen to him and it triggered him. So none of that was going to work anyway. And it's at a point now where you should have been trying to find another job. So yeah, you went too far. And, I witnessed over and over again where he kept calling him hella cute. But the only thing I did not witness was when he actually touched him because I was in another department. I told y'all every time stuff like that be popping off, I don't be nowhere around most of the time. Like, it's crazy. The one time I'm not up there, any other time I would have been up there and seeing that happen. But that time I wasn't because they had me somewhere else. I was back there trying to train. So it's not like I could have been like, oh, even though this ain't running, let me go run behind her and go and do what she doing. It was a situation where it could become operational at any time. So I was like, oh, let me stick around. And I was literally learning things. So yeah. They were just like kind of blown away by what I was telling them. And I told them about the text messages. I was like, the last time he texted me was Sunday. And he said, and I started reading them the text messages, which it wasn't much. And I told them that he said the night before, while I was asleep preparing for work, that he asked me, was I going to work tonight, which for me is the next day. And I said yes, hours upon hours later when I got to work. And then he was like, you my homie, right? And then he said, I need you to do me a favor. And I made sure to tell them that once he started saying what he said at a certain point, I didn't open the messages because I wanted it to look like I didn't see the messages, but I did. Because I wanted to know what in the world he gonna say to me. Because in my mind, I'm like, I feel like you about to try to see if I can feed something to him so that you can get your job back. Like, you need to get the hint. Like, you have been reaching out to countless people and he has not said anything to them to relay back to you, not even F you, even though he has said to me, F him. He don't want nothing to do with you. He don't want to say, hey, by nothing to you. You touched him. And as I have already expressed to y'all, like it reminded him of something traumatic that happened to him as a child. And that's why he ain't here for the athletic butt slaps and all that stuff either. Like, I ain't never been here for that. I ain't never understood why that's supposed to be everything. I ain't here for that. I don't like that. Like, if you ain't my man, I don't want you slapping my butt. If you're not one of my close female friends and we're being playful or something like that, and y'all compliment me because my booty looking good in the skirt or the shirt or the dress or the pants that I got on, you don't need to be touching me. I don't know you like that. And they weren't cool like that. He tried to be cool like that with him when he first met him, but then it got to that point where he started saying little stuff like that, and he was like, and like I told y'all before, it got to a point like maybe a month or so ago where he was like, man, I think he gay. He over here worried about somebody else, but he the one who really gay. Like, I was like, I was not gonna say nothing about that, but okay. So yeah, y'all, after all was said and done, they wanted to know whether or not I would be willing to write a statement that outlines everything that I said so that it could be on record for their documentation purposes, for the investigation. And at the last minute she was like, oh, I forgot to tell you that this is strictly confidential. And I laughed and I told her that I was gonna ask to make sure, but I was pretty sure it was. But still, the social worker and me, I was gonna definitely ask anyway. But you're supposed to say that up front, but she forgot because it was so she didn't realize how involved I am in the situation, even though I really wasn't involved in that. It's like I am, but I'm not. It's a lot. So anyway, she asked me, was I willing to email her and, provide the information that I provided today to them? And I told her, sure. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. What's the email address you want me to send it to? At this point, like, I don't understand what you want me to do. Cool. So she was like, well, she gave me her email address and I told her that I would get on that. So after I'm done with this, as soon as I start converting the video, I'm going to do a little brief statement and send it to them. And that's going to be the end of it. I'm debating on whether or not I am going to do screenshots to further prove that I did indeed talk to him. I'm gonna go back in my messages actually to see if I can find some of the ones where he actually asked me specifically about him, asking what was his name and calling him cute again. But I know for a fact he said it mainly in my face. Um, but I think I do have some text messages where he said he asked me what his name was again and then kept saying he hella cute. So yeah, y'all know I be having receipts. I usually have some receipts, so we're gonna see what happens. But anyway, y'all, thank y'all for tuning in again. Hopefully I won't be back again today. Bye y'all.